Oh, hi guys.
Stop the naughty body. Move your ass over here now.
A few months back, there was a big kerfuffle over pornography and whether or not it's harmful, and specifically whether or not it should be made illegal. And largely, nothing came of it, obviously. But I never made a video addressing it because I felt that, everyone and their sister had already weighed in. But there are some recent developments and some thoughts that I had on the matter that I think warrant its own video. And I have created some pornography. This was created with the intention of stimulating the prurient interest. As you can see, it appeals to many different fetishes. It's very inclusive. And I think I did a really good job, if I do say so myself. Notorious right-wing extremist / gay icon Nicholas J. Fuentes recently weighed in with this tweet just a few days ago, writing, "First, the internet made porn consumption ubiquitous and got young boys addicted to watching it. Now the internet is making porn production accessible and lures young girls into creating it. Porn is spiritual warfare on our country and should be treated like narcotics." Obviously, this perspective comes from religion, because what religion tends to do is to create an equivocation between ethics and morality, which is why that which is deemed morally ugly or obscene, things that aren't necessarily infringing on a person's rights, but nevertheless could be deemed harmful, these are equated with things that are unethical. Now, I believe that this is just an application of a threat narrative. You package that which is immoral as that which is unethical in order to justify violations of the non-aggression principle, which is what we're seeing him do right here. He uses language that eliminates the agency of both males and females involved. For example, using the term, boys and girls, right? He's focusing on young boys and young girls because that way they're not adults. And of course, this is parental hypoagency. This is parents not doing their due diligence to have the kind of relationship with their children where they're able to discuss these matters, and not taking practical precautions to try to limit or to monitor what it is their children are consuming. Now, of course, the majority of porn is consumed and created by adults, so this is a bit of a red herring. But the reason he's packaging it in this way is to create an appeal to hypoagency. You also see this in the choice of verbs he used, right? The young boys, they're addicted to porn because it's been made ubiquitous, right? The porn production, it's made so easy, it's luring these girls. So what we have is that the porn itself, this object, becomes the agent, not the people who are actually human beings capable of making their own choices. The other thing, too, is we see the setup of a threat narrative, right? In that we're saying porn is warfare, right? And this is, of course, intended to package the existence of porn as a violation of the non-aggression principle. So what we can see is that this style of language, it's actually appealing to the non-aggression principle and to libertarian ethics, which Nicholas Fuentes, he rejects in theory, but you can see its implicit use here. If you're curious about my distinction between ethics and morality, it's something that I bring up a lot because it's very often relevant to kind of parsing out these situations. I'll link the 2 videos that I did regarding that topic in the description below.
Do you know what we are? We're fucking cock destroyers, aren't we, babe?
Fucking destroyers.
Yeah, fucking cock destroyers.
The problem is that when confronted, these traditionalist types can't actually give you an objective or clear standard of where they're going to draw this line, which is why slippery slope arguments regarding pornography bans are, I think, extremely compelling. You can see this demonstrated in the American legal standard, where basically we've defined porn as something that stimulates the prurient interest, or I know it when I see it. Essentially a cop-out that completely ignores the question and is really deliberately avoiding pinning this down to anything objective. In this clip where Lady MAGA is talking to Nick Fuentes, I believe this was from earlier this year, they were at some conservative event, you can see it demonstrated that Nick Fuentes doesn't really have a clear way of stopping this snowball from getting out of control.
Even though I may have watched your videos and thought, okay, it's crazy, I want your voice out there, Nick.
Well, thank you.
I have a question for you.
Yes.
Do you believe that I also deserve to have my voice out there?
Well, I believe in free speech.
Okay.
But I don't agree with what you're doing.
No, stop it. Nick, if you believe in free speech, then you believe in speech that you disagree with.
Well, but not necessarily all the time. I think what we should have is decency laws. So that the kinds of things that they're promoting, they go to children, they turn down television or commercials, or really, for public.
What am I promoting? I'm trying to bring common sense.
There's nothing common sense about this. There's nothing common sense about what you're doing. And, look, I respect the dignity of all people, but this is not a dignified presentation.
I have watched his videos. I think he is correct on a lot of issues. And what I think is important is, in America, I feel like you believe that our government should have religious principles come first. Really? So you don't believe in the separation of church and state?
I think there should be a pretty strong integration.
Okay, well that's honest. That's honest. That's honest. Well,
what you should do is you should drop the radical part, just drop the whole LGBT part. You should drop the drag stuff, drop the homosexuality. You should find a woman, and as a man, you should marry her.
So you think
we should live in a normative, virtuous society.
You think a woman deserves to marry a man who is not romantically and physically attracted?
And of course, this is the same issue that you'll see in the Noahide laws, where they vaguely condemn anything that they call sexual immorality. And here, Nick Fuentes is appealing to decency laws. And what we're seeing is that this is just a recipe for creating Andrew Gillums. This is just a recipe for basically corralling a bunch of homosexual men into marriages with women that are going to fail. And then we're supposed to act like that's somehow more dignified and more decent than tolerating things that subjectively might be deemed morally ugly when in fact they really don't harm anyone. No, instead I guess what we're supposed to have is like the government going around telling you what you can put up your butt or not. Or maybe they're going to monitor all of the dildos, right? The electric ones are off limits, but maybe if you have one that's like a manual one with a hand crank, that one's okay. How many inches are proper? Is it too wide? Once you put this into the realm of government, the idea that we're now having, a civil conversation or that this is in any way decent or tolerable is absolutely ridiculous. But of course, when you appeal to religious laws, particularly ones that don't honor any kind of distinction between ethics and morality based in the non-aggression principle, this is what you're going to get. This is what you see every single time without exception. So basically, somehow, we're supposed to think that, openly calling for the government to police people's buttholes, essentially, so that we can, I guess, trick more gay men into having relationships with women that are going to fail and to create ticking time bombs that just destroy families. Like, so that's somehow a very trad-cath, pro-family approach. It's also treacherous and hypocritical when you consider that there's all these gay libertarians that are basically just defending the right to be able to leave him alone and defending him and defending his rights when everybody else is hell-bent on deplatforming him.
I'm a cookie expert here, so.
Oh,
I love them.
If you correctly guess how many cookies are on this lovely luxury cookie platter, you will win a copy of E. Michael Jones's new book on cities.
Very good.
Now, what is your guess?
Okay, well, I know there's the one correct answer that the media expects from me.
Oh, God.
I know.
I tried! I gave you every chance! I said, come on! This is your opportunity! This is your chance to, to prove them all wrong! The answer was 47, and you can have the book anyway, you little cunt. Now, now let's get. Okay. Do you think the Holocaust happened?
Yes.
How many people do you think died in the Holocaust?
Exactly 6 million.
Fucking dirty bitches everywhere. Their big fucking tits. Yeah. Are you excited about our gangbang? Yeah. How much fucking spunk are we gonna get?
You are gonna be fucking plastered in it.
But does he have a point? Is porn in fact bad for society? I mean, after all, if we take a look at the annual causes of death, we see that right there at the top of the list, number 2, is cock destroyers.
Oh, yeah. Fatty. Oh, nice fatty. Good to see that face. Look at that tiny asshole. So tight. I can really get the tongue in. Spread it. Yeah. Oh, my God.
Now, of course, there are some serious questions to ask about the negative health effects of pornography. And I think that the person who made the absolute best video regarding the topic was Davison.
We often hear, don't fix something if it ain't broke. But in this case, thousands of people are saying that they're broken. So, why would anyone try to stop people from organizing support groups? That would be kind of crazy. But not only are these guys being demonized, being called white nationalist hate groups, like we've never seen men trying to help other men called alt-right before, well, there are 2 lawsuits underway to defend themselves against prolific, relentless false accusations. In fact, 10 different people, ranging from neurosurgeons to licensed therapists, to researchers, to the young man who founded nofap.com, simply trying to help others like himself, all of them have sworn affidavits saying the same individual, a scientist named Dr. Nicole Prouse, has launched campaigns against them to silence their speech and destroy their careers.
Another way to look at this is to say that the status quo right now is one that is to some degree dominated by authoritarian, sex-positive feminism. But then when people look at pornography and its detriment, they assume that we're living in a libertarian society that has already failed, when in reality, they're just advocating for one religious solution to what is essentially a religious problem. But do you suppose that someone like Nick Fuentes has considered this as something that is harmful to men, that men are ends in themselves and worthy of care and concern? I would argue no. I would argue that whenever he champions a men's issue, it's never from the standpoint of saying that men shouldn't suffer, men shouldn't have these addictions, it's bad for them as a person, but rather it's from a societal standpoint. Men must be useful to society. After all, traditionalism without male disposability really doesn't work very well. In order to bring us full circle, and I think top things off very nicely, I want to highlight this comment that I saw in response to somebody posting the tweet that inspired this video. This girl wrote, "It's better if girls make it. You know, so it's clear they're not being pressured or misguided when they produce their own. It seems a lot more in the actress's interest than in the viewers. I don't agree with the OP, but I do think it does have its negative impacts. But we all consume it anyway." And the reason I think that this is a very interesting perspective, or I suppose a good example, is that it shows the other side of the coin of traditionalism, that really the only perceived victims in this scenario are going to be women. And this is a very typical sex-negative view, which of course engages in hypoagency on the part of female porn actresses. Of course, all of these kinds of claims completely ignore male porn actors and the kinds of conditions that they work in and the kinds of pay that they get relative to their female counterparts. But it really kind of shows how this more sex-negative or more radical feminist approach to things based in gynocentrism is actually the common thread in the original perspective in condemning porn. Because after all, it's not that they actually care about the effect on young boys or their own physical or mental health. It's that they care about girls being exploited, and this is the sole aim of both of these philosophies. And, anytime that we have some contemporary issue that I think can serve as a useful example to show how all of this hangs together, I think it's worth exploring. So I hope that this video was informative, a little bit fun. Let me know what you think in the comments section. And please like, share, and subscribe. I hate asking people to do that, but I'm really close to 500 subscribers, and it'd be really awesome to get there soon. So everyone have a nice day, and keep it easy.